It's time now to answer some of your business questions. Chris and Larry are back with us to help us out. The first one is from Richard, and he writes, my company is based on providing all colors, all sizes, and styles of undergarments, from the basic size 1 white grandmother's briefs to size 20 things. I need to find wholesale distributors. I have an agreement with Haines, but it's not exclusive. I need help. All right, where does he start, Chris?
Wow, distributing underwear. You know, it's going to require getting into all those types of retail places unless he's got something a little more niche. And that means spending a lot of time getting to know the people. Now, he could use channels like social channels to find who are the buyers and sellers on that. It's really just a question of who do you know who. Right. And really finding those kinds of people. And then from there, it's, I mean, it sounds like there's a little bit of an education gap that needs to be done of how does this actually get done normally, and then find a way to make it a better deal. Because if he's coming in that fresh and clean, there's going to be a little bit of growth to catch up to be the kind of distributor that a big time person's going to need. So he's going to have to understand those integration points.
What do you think, Larry?
I can't even get my brain around this thing because it is so big. And I so believe in get rich in a niche. You know, if it were me, for starters,
I've never heard that. I love that. Get rich in a niche. Okay.
Narrow this down. But if you're looking for wholesale distributors, crying out loud, there's a thing called Google out there. You can find who are the wholesale distributors for undergarments. And I can't think of the names right now, but there are absolutely websites for wholesalers that are out there. And that's about building this relationship that Chris was alluding to earlier. And just narrow this thing down. Build a relationship with the people that get you into the retailers. This can be hard to do by yourself, but it's about contacting, dialing for dollars.
Right. And I mean, start with LinkedIn, by the way, first, right? There's an easy way to start. And if you have no connections, then you just figure out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It's about expanding to a new location.
I'm really curious about opening a second office in a second city, and I'm wondering when is a good time, what factors are involved when you know that you're ready.
I love this question. We've done a couple of stories on it too about how do you do it somewhere close so that you can go there every day? Do you do it far away? How do you have these checks and balances?
Well, we do this in the business that I'm in. There is no perfect time for this because it's very difficult to just expect it because I have profits in this first store. That means my second store is going to be profitable. The truth is you got to have the right people that are operating the second location. I'm a big believer in doing a hub and spoke system when it comes to expanding. If you start your first store in New York, I wouldn't be opening my second store in Chicago. Crying out loud, you've got a big enough consumer base right here to try to do a few where you can actually be involved as a business owner in the day-to-day operations. Until you have your systems in place at your first store where it's easily replicatable and predictable, I wouldn't go out and do a second store. I think I've seen too many organizations grow themselves to death because they haven't had the systems in place.
I love that you basically have to codify everything, right?
Absolutely.
You need your handbook as if you were a franchise.
As if. That's right.
where I was going. It's a franchise mindset. If you can't put it in a blue book binder kind of a thing, and if you can't train the magic into another location, then you don't really have a second store. You know, you have a nightmare waiting to happen. There's a lot of stories of people saying, you know, we just had this thing really nailed down, and they couldn't replicate it because they didn't have Andre or some human that was the magic, not the process.
And also, do you have the person? I mean, you're saying Andre, right? So is there someone from your first store who will move to that second place? Or is it run by itself so well that you can move to that second place?
Yeah. You got to do something to build that culture that you've created at that first store into the next store.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the last question. It's about virtual assistants.
I'm looking for more help to help list inventory, help with bookkeeping, social media marketing. Can you tell me how I can best use virtual assistant tools like Elance, Odesk, etc., to help me achieve those goals?
I am a big fan of these kind of sites, like Mechanical Turk, etc. But how does she start? Which one should she go to?
It's interesting because it applies somewhat to the last question, which is, you know, if you have enough process and procedure down, you can work with a virtual assistant from any space. If you don't, and you're looking for them to add in some expertise, that's where you start to get a little bit sketchier, and you might need something like an Odesk or an Elance. What you're looking for then is some sense of who else can validate that this person has done what they say they've done. That's the only problem with these systems, is that whatever you've typed is what you say you've done. You need just a few more reference points for that. And you don't necessarily have to go as deep as LinkedIn, but you definitely want another person to validate.
The question is too, what do you need, right? If you need some I needed, for instance, some research, some very easy research done, but it was a lot of it, and I needed it done quickly. Then you can go to something like that, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't highly skilled what I needed. I just needed manpower.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you want someone who's truly your virtual assistant, who's working with you all the time and you can really trust, how do you find someone like that?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I'll be honest with you. I have used virtual assistants, some to great success. Most, honestly, have been very difficult to work with. I think what we have to do, as Chris was alluding to, is you got to make sure that you've got the systems down and really understand what it is that you're looking for. A person who's going to be great at marketing might not necessarily be great at doing the research side. So really understand what it is that you need. On the front end of this thing, I would do a video call. Do a video interview with them. I don't care whether they're in Pittsburgh or they're in the Philippines. Do a video interview with them, and start out just do a project-based work first, something that's short term. But do you work with them? Do they take direction well? And how quickly can they turn things around? And then it's like managing anybody. Make sure that you set the expectations up front.
Right, you're managing. It's a person to manage, and it's on you as much as it's on them.
And you have to date before you take them home to mom.
Right,
Yes,
right.
I like
to your
that.
point of doing a project first and checking it out. All right, well, thank you guys very much. This was really great insight, incredibly helpful for all of us out there. And if any of you out there have a question for our experts, please just go on over to our website. The address is openforum.com/yourbusiness. Once you get there, hit the Ask the Show link to submit a question for our panel. Or if it's easier for you, you can just send us an email. The address is yourbusiness@msnbc.com.